Boom. Boom. Yes, yes. I'm getting a lot of messages about WBAP in Dallas. We have moved from that radio station. We're on KLIF. For the Dallas listeners out there, God bless you. We have a huge audience in Dallas. And now we're on KLIF, just so people know. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Vince on a Friday. It is so good to have you with us, the best audience anywhere. Nice to talk to you as always. We have a massive, massive show for you today. I'm going to get into all of the details of what happened yesterday with RFK Jr. appearing before the United States Senate, smacking them around in a way that only he can. It was wonderful stuff. Also, the president of the United States is going after the drug cartels. Finally, somebody is taking out the people who keep killing us. I'll get into the details there, including the deranged reactions coming out of the left right now, which are always fun to cover, and so much more all ahead on this edition of Vince. It is really good to have you with us today. Hey, what you do online isn't private. Data brokers are tracking and creating a profile of your online activities. And in the United States, they're legally allowed to sell that information to whoever wants to buy it. But there's a way to push back and hold on to your values, autonomy and freedom. And that's with ExpressVPN. You see, with ExpressVPN, 100% of my online activity is rerouted through secure encrypted servers, which makes it so that I can maintain my privacy. My internet provider doesn't get to know what I'm doing online. I do. ExpressVPN also hides your IP address, so data brokers can't use that number to build a profile on you and sell that profile. ExpressVPN is easy to use. It takes just one click, and it works on all of your devices, and you can have it on up to 8 devices at once. So you can give the gift of privacy and freedom to your whole family. Right now, you can get an extra 4 months for free when you use my special link. Go to expressvpn.com/Vince. Get 4 extra months of ExpressVPN. That's expressvpn.com/Vince. All right. Thank you. Anita says I look good in the white shirt today. Thank you. Yes, I'm dressed like I'm going to a beach wedding. No, I just, I figured I'd dress up for you. We do a lot of dark colors on the show, so I looked in my closet today. I was like, let me grab the white shirt. Let me see how this does. So, thank you, ladies. Thank you for scoring me well today. I appreciate you for that. Let's see. I've got RFK Jr. Man, this guy is unreal. I love everything about RFK Jr. I love that he is confronting the corruption in our healthcare system, that he's finally cracking some skulls in an industry that it's long overdue to crack some skulls in. He's breaking up the kind of the mindless health cartel that's inside of our government, that's taking all of this cash from the pharmaceutical companies. And he says, I'm not playing that game. I'm looking at the health data here and I'm going, man, Americans are really sick. They've never been sicker. Chronic disease is all over the place. Kids are not doing well. The last thing we should do is continue to do the same insane stuff we have been doing. So let's change that, shall we? In fact, this is one of the reasons President Trump won by the margin he did. He had the Make America Healthy Again coalition supporting his return to the White House. It was too big to rig because the president ran on all sorts of really important issues to the American public, especially to mothers who want to watch after their children and make sure that the things that they're putting in them, the drugs that they're being given, are actually to their benefit and not to their detriment. So RFK has been undertaking this effort, which has been really good news. And that includes the recent decision to revoke the, quote, emergency use authorization for COVID jabs. How many years ago was the COVID pandemic? Do we really need an emergency use authorization anymore? The answer to that is quite obviously no, we don't. And so RFK has ended all of that, and he's made it really simple. Look, if people want to go get the COVID jab, go to your doctor just like every other jab people get and talk to the doc, and the doc will give you the COVID jab if that's what you and the doctor agree to. Whatever happened to, making decisions between myself and my doctor? That's what RFK is restoring, the freedom of choice and a much more sensible system. But that's outraging the left. In fact, it's outraging anybody who's taking pharmaceutical money. And yesterday we saw that on display in the United States Senate in just a ridiculous hearing. Now, RFK, I will tell you right up front, has a unique ability to confront these senators for a number of reasons. One, he's by and large maybe smarter than all of them. He's a bright dude. He's very bright. Two, he's just sort of unflinchingly honest about what he's encountering. He doesn't have to deal in this world of lies. He's just telling the truth about what he's seeing. Another piece of this is he's kind of been going through the ringer his entire career. He's been the subject of all sorts of attacks. And it's, as far as battle-hardened people, he ranks up there with the President of the United States. He's accustomed to taking all sorts of ludicrous attacks and fighting back against them. So there is that. And then finally, honestly, he just has alpha male energy. He shows up yesterday. He's courteous when he needs to be, of course. And then when people are giving him guff, he doesn't take it. He just straight up just says, you know what, you're lying. You're distorting the facts. You're not telling the truth. You're intentionally misleading people. Senators are not used to this. What they normally get is a lot of compliance. They get people who are just trying to survive Senate hearings, who don't want to say anything that might get them into trouble, don't want to say anything that might draw attention to them in some sort of negative way. So people kind of sit and they keep their mouths shut. RFK is like, no, I'm not playing that game. I'll just tell the truth in the face of all this insanity. And so good for him yesterday. Now, here's what we had. We had a bunch of moments like this yesterday. Let's just begin with RFK unloading on the health establishment, shall we? Here's cut one, RFK Jr. just immediately going to, our country is sick as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. Take a look.
76.4% of Americans now have a chronic disease. This is stunning. When my uncle was president, it was 11%. 1950, it was 3%. Today, it's 76.4%. 8 out of 10 of our kids cannot qualify for military service. This is a national security issue. If we don't end this chronic disease, we are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy.
Thank you,
and I need to fire some of those people to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Amen. Amen. And he's firing people at the CDC. Now, this is a big scandal on the left. They hate this. Any of these news outlets, these legacy media outfits that are taking pharmaceutical cash, they're just as upset as you could possibly be that the HHS secretary is finally firing people who've made America less healthy, who've worked against our interests, who are hiding data from us that is important. It's out of control. So he's been firing CDC people. He's been firing all sorts of people under HHS, including that ludicrous, satanic pentagram-wearing, leather-covered, insane person who just left recently. He's firing them all, and rightfully so. And he's saying, these guys are not helping America. America's the most unhealthy it's ever been. No, we're not doing that anymore. And in fact, while I'm sitting here, let me extend to you the blame you deserve, United States senators, for what you have done to this country. Here's RFK Jr. confronting Senator Ron Wyden. Ron Wyden's like, hey, you're going to make people sick. He's like, you want to talk about making people sick? How about you? You've been here forever, and you keep failing our country. Watch this moment.
Senator, you've sat in that chair for how long? 20, 25 years, while the chronic disease in our children went up to 76%. And you said nothing. You never asked the question why it's happening. Why is this happening? Today, for the first time in 20 years, we learned that infant mortality has increased in our country. It's not because I came in here. It's because of what happened during the Biden administration that we're going to end.
Do you love even just the camera cutaway for those of you who can see it on the visual, but if you can't, you're listening on the audio podcast. As you're watching, what happens is the camera cuts to Ron Wyden. He's looking around bewildered, like, are they allowed to do that? People are allowed to speak back to me? They're allowed to, just speak their mind in a free country? What is this? How can this even be possible? And there's RFK Jr. rightly confronting yet another one of these ghouls who has not done the work that he should have over the years on our behalf. So RFK has to do it now. That's wonderful. Also, RFK Jr. confronted the Virginia Senator Mark Warner, who was claiming that somehow the Trump administration has been politicizing COVID data. RFK gave him the, excuse me, you want to talk about politicizing COVID data? You know who did that? That was your party. Take a look, cut 3.
You're saying the Biden administration politicized all the data?
Go back to what Senator Cantwell just
They
said.
fired Dr.
Go to
Krause.
the Trump Surgeon General.
They fired Dr. Krause. They fired all the people who questioned the orthodoxy. They fired Dr. Gruber, Dr. Krause.
Yeah. Anybody who raised concerns about, say, myocarditis, the inflammation of the heart, especially in young men, anybody who was raising concerns about the efficacy of the COVID jabs, the failure for it to stop the transmission of COVID, anybody who's raising questions about, really, is it a good idea for us to recommend cloth masks? That's doing something? It's not doing anything. Why don't we stop lying to the American people, one after one after one? Gone, 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 gone. So what you have is RFK Jr. going, you want to talk about corrupting the agency? This isn't the pursuit of actual science. This isn't about helping people and better health outcomes. It was about protecting a political cartel that was in bed with the pharmaceutical industry, that was absolutely crushing the American people with a reckless abandon and lying to them, patting us on the head like we can't understand the data, that we're not entitled to it. You remember the beginnings of, I mean, my God, the nightmare of the beginning of COVID. And you've got, you had, what's his face, Fauci coming out and lying to the American people about natural immunity, hiding details that he was aware of, lying frequently about things like masking as they were trying to preserve the mask supply. So they at first told Americans, none of us need any masks whatsoever, N95 or any other ones. And then later insisted against all of the data that somehow cloth masks were going to help. Do you remember people wrapping bandanas around their face like that was going to do anything? That all came to us from idiotic recommendations from a corrupt government that did not have our interests at heart at all. And then we were put through the COVID mandate phase, where the whole country was forced to be strapped down to a table and jabbed. Total insanity. You drove people out of the American military for that. People who volunteered to serve for their country, having their lives upended and destroyed. For that, I just can't get over, you know, it's so amazing to me that they can sit there and they can lecture him. Oh, you're so crazy. Oh, you shouldn't be telling anybody what to do with health. You want to remember something crazy? This is a great tweet from a columnist over at Town Hall, Dustin Grage. You ready for this? Look at this. Take a look at this. You remember the kids who were forced to sit inside of little tents to play instruments at band during COVID? There was no health justification for this. They're sitting inside of these insane little tents to play instruments for their band class. It was crazy. You had people being arrested for paddleboarding by themselves in the Pacific Ocean. Spare us the lectures about health when you absolutely bent this country over. You wrecked this country. And now they have the audacity to lecture the rest of us for being angry about that. It's unreal. So good for RFK. I want to see him go in every day. If this wasn't so much of a distraction from the important job that he should be doing, I wish he was there every day reading these guys the riot act. And it continues. It wasn't just Mark Warner. It was also Senator Michael K. Bennett yesterday, who didn't want to admit that COVID jabs were indeed and have been indeed swelling the hearts of children. Cut 4, Senator K.
What I said was accurate. What you said were lies. You described people moving the Titanic.
Are you saying that the mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire.
You're evading the question.
No, I'm asking the questions here,
You're
Mr.
evading
Kennedy.
that question.
I'm asking the questions,
I
Mr.
asked
Kennedy.
you a question.
I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve so much better than your leadership. That's what this conversation is about, Mr. Chairman.
Senator, they deserve the truth, and that's what we're going to give them for the first time in the history of that agency.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So RFKs go, wait a second. You telling me that none of these kids had their hearts swell because of the jab, the mRNA vaccine? That never happened? And Bennett tries to move on. And then he rage quits the conversation. He just starts screeching, and then he thinks that he's done. RFK luckily getting in the final word in that exchange. Michael Bennett, man. Okay. He's too much. And the idea that he's the one protecting the kids. Wait a second. Hold up. Which guy in that conversation was trying to stop the hearts of children from swelling? I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it was RFK Jr. who took that position. And Senator MK was saying that somehow he's protecting the kids by swelling their hearts. No. Michael Bennett not alone. We've got also Maggie Hassan. She's mad that the CDC is no longer recommending COVID jabs for kids or pregnant women. And here you have RFK Jr. in Cut 5 saying, my goal is simply to look at the health data. If we determine that this improves health, we'll recommend it. If it's not going to improve your health, we're not going to recommend it. Watch.
Now parents who decide that they do want their children to have
You're just
COVID
making
vaccine
stuff up, Senator.
I'm not
You're
making
just
stuff
making stuff up.
You know, sometimes when you make an accusation, it's kind of a confession, Mr. Kennedy.
Oh, please.
So let's just settle with this. So here's what's going to happen. To Senator Warner's point, to the parents who are concerned all around the country, to people who want to get the COVID vaccine this fall, even if they're under 65, because the boosters have worked, there's been much less serious disease. People do not have the same level of threat and risk from COVID that they used to because of these vaccines. People who want to exercise their freedom of choice are being denied that.
No, they aren't. Everybody can get the vaccine.
Because you are citing data that you won't produce to the public.
You're just
and you are rejecting
You're
science.
making things up to scare people, and it's a lie.
With respect, I do not think I'm the one making things
You
up.
are
Thank you,
lying
Mr. Chair.
right now, Senator.
You're a liar. You're a complete, disgusting, utter liar, says RFK Jr. Good for him. My goodness. Where is this energy all the time? So RFK Jr. goes in there and again with basically alpha male swagger, just saying, look, I'm going to treat people with respect if they treat me courteously. But if you're not going to do that, I'm just going to call you out flatly. And I don't care about the consequences here because I think the consequences for letting America's health collapse are far greater. So you're a liar, Senator, as you say that. Oh, you're depriving people of choice. No, you're not. No, you're not. In fact, RFK is saying that people are entitled to the same, quote, choice that the left constantly advances when it comes to abortion. They're like, this should be between a woman and her doctor. Well, RFK says this COVID jab business should be between a patient and their doctor. So what problem do you have with that exactly? Oh, your donors have a problem with that. That's what's going on here. In fact, at one point, RFK, he specializes in this particular move. He called out Elizabeth Warren for being one of the biggest recipients of pharma cash. She is. In recent years, actually, she was number 2 on the list. Guess who was number 1? Bernie flippin' Sanders, number 1. So RFK, of course, had to call out both of these goons who are on the Senate hearing yesterday. Here's RFK calling out the woman who lied about being a Native American, Elizabeth Warren. Cut 6. Great moment.
Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy
the
free.
question is everyone who wants it. That was your promise.
I know I didn't. I never
mine.
promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said,
and I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that? Because you are the one who said you would not take them away. Now, Senator Kennedy,
I'm not taking them away from anybody.
Secretary,
you want me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
Senator,
is that what you want?
Secretary Kennedy, you said you wouldn't, and now you did.
I'm not taking them away. Everybody can get access to them.
No.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Everybody can get access to them. Did I miss that in the clip that we didn't have the call out, did we? Of the actual money, the pharma money? Here, I'll give it to you. Hold up. Yeah, so he calls out Elizabeth Warren. He says, this is, did he say it? That you're taking all this cash from the pharmaceutical company? Okay, good. I'm making sure. Okay, good. Yeah. $855,000 from the pharmaceutical company. Taking all that money. Yeah. And she's like, she's completely outrageous. Oh, Senator, why won't you continue to pump drugs into all these people? You're trying to hurt them. No, I'm trying to help them. You're trying to line your pockets. One of us is doing something ethical. The other one is doing something completely corrupt. Elizabeth Warren, who's constantly pretending she's defending the little guy. And instead, she's imperiling the little guy in order to enrich herself and to stay in office. She's not alone. Bernie Sanders pulled the same move yesterday. Bernie Sanders went absolutely crazy. He started Bernie Sandersing like crazy when RFK called him out. Here is cut 7. Bernie goes bonkers at the hearing yesterday.
You ran for president. You know, we have a corrupt campaign finance system. Maybe you will agree with me on that. Okay, you were already president. You got a billionaire behind it. You received $300,000 from people, not from the industry, people in it, as I did, from individuals. You corrupt. President Trump got $3 million. Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I think you do know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The issue is every time anyone disagrees with you...
Are you saying the pharmaceutical industry was supporting my presidential campaign?
I'm saying...
I don't think so.
I'm not saying that.
All right, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but am I understanding this Bernie Sanders argument correctly? His position is that everybody here is taking pharmaceutical cash, so that's just how the game is played. So why are you hassling me over all the pharmaceutical cash that I took? Secretary Kennedy, I take so much pharma cash, I do whatever they want, all the time, just like everybody else on this dais. So why are you attacking me? Because I constantly take pharma cash. That's the position? Yeah, you stick with that, Bernie. That makes a lot of sense. That makes about as much sense as you combing your hair with a balloon every morning. That makes no sense at all. Unreal. So that's great. Any hearing where Bernie Sanders goes absolutely crazy is a great hearing. We've got more ahead, including one Democrat senator who said that he wanted to give RFK Jr. his starfish, which is a weird thing to say. He's like, I was going to give it to you, but now I'm not going to give it to you. I'm sorry, what? What are you even talking about? More ahead on this wild RFKage, is it RFKage? Yeah, RFKage match edition of Vince. Great to have you as always. We got to thank the great sponsors who make this all possible, including Patriot Mobile. You've got a lot of choices for cell phone service. New ones are popping up all the time. But here's the truth. There's really only one that boldly stands in the gap for every American that believes that freedom is worth fighting for. And that's Patriot Mobile. The good news is you can switch to Patriot Mobile today without sacrificing quality or service. Now, if you're worried about your coverage at all, don't be. Don't be. You shouldn't be. Because Patriot Mobile uses all 3 major U.S. networks. If you have service in this country today, you're going to have as good or better coverage with Patriot Mobile. You think switching is a hassle? It's not. You can keep your number, keep your phone, or even upgrade. Patriot Mobile's 100% U.S.-based team will get you activated in just minutes from the comfort of your own home. Are you stuck in a contract or owe money on your phones? No worries. Patriot Mobile has a contract buyout program. Look, this is how we win. You align your spending with your values. Every dollar that we spend truly matters. So go to patriotmobile.com/Vince or call 972-PATRIOT. Just use the promo code Vince and you will get a free month of service on me. So switch today. That's patriotmobile.com/Vince or call 972-PATRIOT. Patriot Mobile. Thank you to Patriot Mobile for being awesome. Okay. All right. So just a couple more quick ones, but I just think that the RFK hearing, it just was so thrilling. I loved everything about it because you had all these Democrats who were put in their place yesterday. RFK did a great job. There was here's RFK explaining that there was a CDC scientist who was actually destroying data in the agency related to the incidence of autism among Black boys, clearly because the researchers wanted to keep administering a vaccine and used this idea that if people found out that Black children in particular were being hurt even worse, then it'd be a big scandal. So let's just erase the data. That was the conclusion. Listen to RFK detailing a pretty horrific thing. Here he is, cut 8 yesterday.
In 2002, CDC did an internal study of Atlanta and Fulton County, Georgia children, and looked at children who got the MMR vaccine on time and compared those to kids who got them later. So in other words, kids who got them before 36 months and kids who got them afterward. The data from that study showed that Black boys who got the vaccine on time had a 260% greater chance of getting an autism diagnosis than children who waited. The chief scientist on that, Dr. William Thompson, the senior vaccine safety scientist at CDC, was ordered to come into a room with 4 other co-authors by his boss, Frank DeStefano, who's the head of the immunization safety branch, and ordered to destroy that data. And then they published it without that fact.
That is horrifying. Totally horrifying. And par for the course for a corrupt government health establishment that, again, has led to an America that's a lot less healthy now than it's ever been. So what are we to conclude from all of that? RFK has promised that this month he is going to release information on their findings within his agency about whatever sort of impact medicine and all these treatments may have on autism numbers. He said, we're taking a close look at the causes of autism, which, as he's pointed out, has exploded in the United States over the years, and they'd like to figure out why. And they believe that they already have some of the answers on that subject, so he'll be releasing a full report on that. I will immediately tell you what's going to happen, which is the media is not going to treat this report with any degree of seriousness. They're going to condemn it as pseudoscience. They're going to call it a hoax right away. And meanwhile, all of their segments are going to be sponsored by pharmaceutical companies. So, of course, you have this inherent ridiculous conflict of interest that makes you the absolute worst mediator on whether or not there's truth and accuracy to this government report. So you're going to be served a huge dose of hysteria and lies immediately. But I look forward to whatever it is that RFK presents. And as always, no matter what, and this is the message that he keeps laying out there, so of course I expect him to live up to it, it needs to simply be guided by gold standard science. It has to be guided by accuracy, credible, replicatable science. That's the key here. And so yeah, I'll approach this with all the sobriety in the world. I'm looking forward to what RFK wants to share with the rest of us. But the media will not be sober about this. They will be drunken and hysterical. Expect that, as usual. All right. We've got another clip here that is so crazy. I've got a couple of, let me see here. I just want to make sure I've got the right thing. Let's go to cut 11. This is RFK smacking Senator Ben Ray Lujan around yesterday. That sets up the next clip, which is even crazier. Here's RFK and Democrat Senator Lujan.
Mr. Kennedy, you hired a man named David Geyer to conduct this study. Is that correct?
No.
Is
No.
Mr. David Geyer working for HHS?
He's a contractor, but he's not conducting a study.
He's a contractor?
He's a contractor.
Do you know who works for you, Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah.
Did you know he never went to medical school?
He's not practicing medicine.
Did you know that he got caught in Maryland and was charged for practicing medicine without a medical license?
He was charged by a medical board. He sued the medical board, and the medical board was found to have acted in actual malice and was fined $2.6 million by a judge in Maryland for doing that.
See, so you choose to know a lot when you want to know a lot. It's incredible, Mr. Kennedy.
Senator, you're
ridiculous. So here's the question I have. You brought him in to do this
You're
study.
ridiculous.
I think there's no question about it.
I told you he's not doing a study.
Is he participating in the study?
No. What
Is he doing any analysis in regards to this study?
No. What he's doing is getting access to the Vaccine Safety Data Link, which is the biggest repository for vaccine information that your friend would not give us for 7 months.
I can't even love it more. So one of the other advantages that RFK has is he has such a mastery of the facts. And as Senator Lujan tries to put him into this scandal, did you know that your guy was charged with a crime? And RFK comes back and goes, no. Yeah, he was charged. And then he came back and then he sued the jackasses who did it. And he won a massive settlement because they violated the law. So you notice that the senator, the Democrat, left that detail entirely out. And it was up to RFK to just drop the elbow on top of him from the top rope to explain how corrupt this line of questioning was. Great stuff. I mean, honestly. And this is a reminder, kids, do your homework. You have to know your stuff before you go into these hearings. And he definitely does. And so Senator Lujan was so grumpy about how outmaneuvered he was by RFK Jr. yesterday that there was this bizarre moment where he said, I was going to give you my starfish, and now I'm not going to give you my starfish. I'm sorry. What is this? Cut 9. Senator Lujan acting like a weirdo.
Look, 2 young ladies in Las Cruces, New Mexico at a town hall recently gave me this starfish pin. I was going to give it to you today, but after your questioning today, I don't think you deserve it, because what this represents is to remember that every one of us can make a difference, sir, to something as small as a starfish on a beach that maybe got washed up, you throw it back in the ocean. You might not save them all, but you can save one. I'm sorry that you're not worthy of this nice little pin, sir, as a nice reminder. I'm going to pray for you, Secretary Kennedy. I hope we do better. I want you to do better. But today was a failure for you, man. I yield back.
Senator Warnock.
What a starfish that guy is. Unreal. I can't even believe that happened yesterday. I was going to give you my starfish, but now you don't get to have it. Okay. How did you become a United States Senator? That's what I want to know. That's wild. All right, so that's what happened yesterday. That was the RFK hearing, which was just completely absurd. I've got some other elements that I want to get to today. We've got the president of the United States is taking on the cartels. They're killing the people who are killing Americans. This is all I want the military to do, is to kill bad guys who are trying to kill us. That's great. So we're doing that. And I've got that for you. Also, the Department of Justice is apparently flirting with banning transgender mentally ill people from acquiring guns in the United States. I will dive into this with you in a moment, get your reaction to all of it, chat, see what you think. But we've got a lot more to get to here on this edition of Vince. Before we get there, though, thanking the sponsors who make this possible. Fall is planting season. Did you know that many plants and trees actually do better when planted this time of year? But you do have to know where to start. And this is why I love fastgrowingtrees.com. Doesn't matter if you live in the sunny South or if the air is getting chilly where you are. Their plant experts can help you find the perfect fit for your space. They have all the plants that your yard needs, like fruit trees and privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, and so much more. Order online, get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home. And I got to say, as someone who has received fast-growing trees by mail, they do such a good job in packaging these things. They get there and they're in perfect shape, well packaged. They arrive at your doorstep, ready to be planted right away. You're going to love them. This fall, they've got the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to this show get 15% off your purchase when using the code VINCE at checkout. That's 15% off your first purchase at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code VINCE at checkout. Now's the perfect time to plant. Use VINCE to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. Also, thank you to Blackout Coffee, a great and durable sponsor of this program, proudly the official coffee of all of us here at Silverlock, and there's a very good reason for that. You see, Blackout Coffee is proud of this country, just like we are. They're America First Coffee, roasted fresh right here in the United States. It's not grocery store junk. Blackout Coffee delivers rich, high-quality roasts that actually taste like freedom. Now you can set it and forget it with auto refill and recurring delivery. This means no more running out, no more watered down backups, just your favorite roast delivered fresh on your schedule. Pick your favorite roast, how often you want it delivered, and not only will you get a discount, but you're also going to get double the rewards and free shipping to your doorstep. In fact, I'm waiting right now on my next shipment of Blackout Coffee. I can't wait. It's going to be very exciting. All the beans are going to be arriving at my house Here's what you need to do. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince, that's VINCE, and you'll get 20% off your first order. Whether you're into bold, dark roasts, flavored coffee, or even instant, Blackout's got you covered. Real coffee, no compromise. Blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Get yours now. Blackout Coffee. So good. All right. Let's see here. We have been killing terrorists. Isn't that fun? We've been killing the bad guys. And rightfully so. You know, look, there's the Venezuelans who were Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang members trying to bring drugs into the United States. And earlier this week, the Trump administration, President Trump, ordered a strike on that fast boat, destroying it, and then sharing the footage with the world. This is obviously a good move because it directly affects the United States of America. We're losing over 100,000 Americans a year due to these drugs. The president would like to see that stop. So would everybody who voted for him. But the left is raging about this. Take a look at Cut 12. Here's MSNBC absolutely raging that President Trump took out some people who are killing over 100,000 Americans a year.
It's alarming, it's unprecedented, and it's dangerous. And it's the latest example of how Trump continues to overextend and abuse military power. I think it's maybe the most important and one of the most underreported stories in America right now. Not only did they kill 11 people, allegedly, they put American troops at risk. American troops could have died, right? And anytime you put American troops at risk, you owe the American public an explanation as to why. There is absolutely no accountability right now. There is no transparency.
Gave an explanation.
And there's the old saying, you know, first send the country to war, then send the troops. We keep sending the troops first without getting the country behind them, whether it's National Guard deployments in Washington, D.C. and Chicago, or strikes like this. And we are going into literally now uncharted territory.
What a maroon. Okay, so he's angry about this. Why would you be angry about this? The president didn't explain it. The president broadcast the footage to the planet. This wasn't a secret. They revealed that we struck these guys and why. It is squarely in the American interest to defend the American homeland. It is the principal use of the United States military. So I don't know what this guy's going on about, but that's the quality of guest that they've been bringing on MSNBC. Meanwhile, MSNBC never raised any objections to Barack Obama drone striking American citizens in faraway lands. That never came up. But here, when the president of the United States is killing off terrorists who are bringing drugs into our country to kill over 100,000 Americans a year, now it's a problem. Spare us the lectures. It's a little much. It's a little much. Things with Venezuela are getting... Venezuela's getting chippy. Let's just put it that way. Venezuelans getting a little chippy right now because their position is that we shouldn't defend ourselves. So here's what we have. Yesterday, the Venezuelans buzzed one of our naval ships. Let me show you a New York Post story to this effect. Here's the piece. The two Venezuelan military aircraft flew over a U.S. Navy ship in what they're referring to as a highly provocative move. A highly provocative move, the Pentagon says. A U.S. Navy ship conducting counter-drug operations was interfered with Thursday when two Venezuelan military aircraft flew over the vessel. This is according to the Department of Defense. The maneuver, described by the Pentagon as highly provocative, comes 2 days after U.S. forces attacked that Tren de Aragua drug smuggling boat in the Caribbean, killing 11 narco-terrorists. The Pentagon released a statement. They said, today, two Maduro regime aircraft flew near a U.S. Navy vessel in international waters. This highly provocative move was designed to interfere with our counter-narco-terror operations. The cartel running Venezuela is strongly advised not to pursue any further effort to obstruct, deter, or interfere with counter-narcotics and counter-terror operations carried out by the U.S. military. The aircraft involved were reportedly F-16 fighter jets, according to CBS. So F-16s from Venezuela. Keep that in mind for a moment. That'll be important in just a second. The outlet also reports that the USS Jason Dunham, an Aegis-guided missile destroyer, was the vessel being harassed by the Venezuelan military. All right. So we get Venezuelan F-16s that think they're going to somehow threaten us, put on a show, that they're going to make us rattle in our boots that they're flying near us because what? We killed off a bunch of gangsters who have been killing Americans? I don't think that's going to happen. In fact, the update this morning is that the Trump administration is now moving F-35s, F-35 jets into Puerto Rico to stage them in operations against the drug cartels, two sources briefed on the matter have said, in a move likely to, quote, inflame tensions in the region. That's what Reuters claims today. Let me just break this down in my understanding of what we're dealing with. And for some of you in the chat, you'll have a much better understanding than I do. But here's what we know. An F-35 versus an F-16 is not a close contest. There is no situation here where an F-16 is going to win. The F-35 can detect and destroy that plane over the horizon. Let me put it differently. Before the F-16 can even see the F-35, the F-16 is gone. That's what we're talking about here. There is nothing like the American military. There is nothing like American air power.
We're done with that shit.
And if these guys want to play that game, it's going to end very poorly for them. So the Venezuelan government, the Venezuelan military should be very careful about the game that they're playing right now, because the whole point of this operation that the United States is undertaking is to defend the American homeland from the threats that are killing Americans. What else is the military supposed to do? What is the job of the American military? It's to kill bad guys who would do us harm. And that's what we're up to right now. So this is this is the developing story this morning, worth keeping an eye on, as Venezuela thinks they can get a little chippy with us. That is not going to work out well. And obviously the president decided right away, okay, fine, I'm sending F-35s to Puerto Rico. They're on the move. We have a lot of naval vessels floating in that direction as well to fight off these cartel operations. Meanwhile, more of these gangsters are being designated this morning as terror organizations. Marco Rubio coming out overnight. The U.S. has added 2 more gangs to the terror list in the war against these vicious animals, says Marco Rubio. The U.S. added 2 more foreign drug gangs to the foreign terrorist organization list. The State Department announced Thursday, I'm quoting here from the Daily Caller, 2 Ecuadorian gangs, Los Choneros and Los Lobos, will now also be treated as terrorist organizations by the U.S. government, according to the State Department. Quote, the United States, in partnership with Ecuador and its president, Daniel Noboa, will continue to protect our 2 nations by keeping illicit drugs off of our streets and disrupting the revenue streams funding drug cartels, terrorism, and criminal activity. That's the State Department in its announcement. Today's action further demonstrates the Trump administration's unwavering commitment to eliminating cartels, ensuring the safety of the American people. You know, I know that one of the obvious open questions that we've had is, when are we going to see military action against the cartels? This is definitely something that's been on the mind of Trump supporters and the president himself, clearly. And now we're beginning to see this. The left, of course, has instantly taken the 3% position here. The 97-3, they're going with the 3. The 99-1, they're going with the 1. If Trump is for it, they're against it. If it involves protecting Americans from the cartels, the left is against it. So we're just going to have to barrel on without their support as usual. But fascinating to watch, and good to see that if we're going to flex military muscle, that we do it directly for the interest of Americans. So that's the update on that. Now, speaking of the United States military, I do have another big piece of news for you today. It appears that we will get an official announcement today to rename the Pentagon. We're not going to be calling it the Department of Defense anymore. Instead, we're restoring it to the name that it held for most of its existence in our country, to the Department of War. We're getting the Department of War back. Now, here's the Fox News headline on the subject. Trump to rename the Pentagon, restoring historic Department of War in latest military move, which is pretty epic. And they say the president is signing an executive order today, Friday, and he's got, by the way, an announcement from the Oval Office at around 4 p.m. Eastern time today. And I assume that this is what that will be, as well as another press conference of some kind. He's signing the executive order. He's going to alter the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, reverting the agency to its former name. Both Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth have recently indicated they do want to change the name of the agency. It's one of several initiatives that the Trump administration has spearheaded as a part of its Warrior Ethos campaign. A White House official just confirmed to Fox on Thursday that Trump would roll out the name change today. That executive order does call for using the Department of War, they say, as a, quote, secondary title for the Department of Defense. So we'll see whether or not there's some sort of statutory limitation that gets in the way of everything being fully changed. And they want to use the phrase Secretary of War for Pete Hegseth, according to a White House fact sheet. So that's fun. So we'll have now War Secretary Hegseth going forward, and the Department of War is restored. Now, one of the insane critiques I've seen of this already from the left and from rhino types is, there goes President Trump. I thought he wanted to keep us out of wars. Why is he calling it the Department of War? He loves war, doesn't he? He lied to us. He's such an authoritarian. What a fascist. He wants to get us involved in war. That's why he's calling it the Department of War. No, you idiots. You complete morons. That is not the point of this. First of all, the Department of War is a true statement. It is a reflection of reality. What job does that agency engage in? War fighting. So why don't we just call it what it is? War. Department of Defense is a euphemism for what it really accomplishes, which is fighting war. So let's start by telling the truth. Secondly, the Department of Defense euphemism, this idea that we just say that it's, oh, this innocent defensive organization, and let's just call it that, diminishes the human toll of war. It doesn't make you think as sincerely about the costs of war. If you name the agency accurately, it has the effect of reminding the American people of the gravity of its purpose, that human life is on the line, that human life truly matters. These are our fellow citizens who have volunteered to wear the uniform and perhaps pay the ultimate sacrifice to defend their country. If we're honest about what this agency does, then we will be able to reckon with the human cost that goes along with it. Let's call it the Department of War. It's good. It's a good thing. And it's not about becoming ludicrously hawkish or engaging in ridiculous foreign adventurism. It's about reminding the American people of what the job is. So the Department of War is good. And it's a restoration of what it was called for almost its entire history up until after World War II, which, you know, just in case you were wondering, we won the wars while it was called the Department of War. That is the case. We do have here, cut 10. There's now Secretary of War Pete Hegseth talking about this on Fox this week. Take a look. Cut 10.
We won World War I and we won World War II, not with the Department of Defense, but with a War Department, with the Department of War. As the president has said, we're not just defense, we're offense. We're reestablishing at the department the warrior ethos. We want warriors, folks that understand how to exact lethality on the enemy. We don't want endless contingencies and just playing defense. We think words and names and titles matter. So we're working with the White House and the president on it. Stand by, but we might have some new signage here, right over here, eventually.
Look forward to it.
Even here in the briefing room.
That's great. Yeah, and also you got to wonder what it's going to do for morale and for recruitment and for the sorts of dudes that you want to welcome into the United States military, encourage to join up and be a part of warfighting efforts. So anyway, today another restoration to the country that is so sharp. I love it. The Department of War, good to see it coming back. Good job by the President of the United States. So we expect a big announcement today from the White House on that subject. Let me now go to this thing about whether or not we can stop transgender mentally ill people from being armed. That brings us to a story today. The Department of Justice is considering a transgender gun ban, reportedly, after that Catholic school massacre last week. I'm going to give you the Daily Caller version of this. Here we go. Here, the DOJ considers transgender gun ban after Catholic school massacre. And Chad, I'd love to get your take on all of this, because you can kind of see where there's some peril in this move. And I'll get into that in a moment. But what they say is this: the Department of Justice is considering blocking those identifying as transgender from buying firearms after a trans-identifying male opened fire on children at a Catholic school in Minnesota on August 27th, multiple outlets reporting on Thursday. Robin Westman, a man identifying as a woman, killed 2 children while they attended Mass at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis, wounded 21 others, and then fatally shot himself. That massacre, along with other recent attacks carried out by trans people, has heightened concerns about that connection between transgenderism and mental illness and violence. So the goal of the potential ban is to, quote, ensure that mentally ill individuals suffering from gender dysphoria are unable to obtain firearms while they are unstable and unwell, a DOJ official told CNN. Court records showed that the alleged gunman's mother, of course, signed off on a name change from Robert Paul to Robin M. while he was still a minor. And they go on and on. They say that he blamed his transgenderism, weed, and disapproval from his mother for his mental illness, according to writing that was translated by the New York Post. So let me just cover some of the issues that exist here. One, we don't want the government to broadly assess what they think qualifies as mental illness to disarm you. Okay? So that's one area, because you know what'll happen if Democrats control the government, and they desperately want to take your guns away by any means necessary. But if Democrats control the government, they will use any vehicle, including vehicles that we create, in order to disarm you. And one population that the left has wanted to disarm for a long time is American military veterans. Military veterans, some of whom experience the traumas of war and then come home and have things like PTSD. If the left can try and exploit that to disarm Americans, they will. They're going to do it. So, one, I'm always on guard for anything that begins with how do we disarm a certain category of American. Always on guard immediately. Another piece here is, you want something common sense to control? How about we get common sense hormone control? How about we get common sense doctor control? Common sense medical industry control? There is no excuse for chopping up human beings inside of medical facilities for no reason that has to do with health and everything that has to do with exacerbating mental illness. Let's stop that in its tracks. Let's stop injecting people full of cross-sex hormones that have nothing to do with health and everything to do with enhancing their delusions and driving them into a state of unhealth. Let's stop that. Let's stop demonizing mental help that is designed to help people out of a situation where they think that they were born in the wrong body. Why would we do that? So if we want to tackle something for real that stops all of this mental illness from getting worse, let's cut it off at its source. Let's stop the establishment from enabling it. That's what we need to do. Desperately. Now, one kind of hilarious effect of this suggestion, where the Trump administration comes out, this is so classic, and they say, we want to ban trannies from getting guns. There's an amazing thing that's happening right now. The left are debating how they push back on this. Because remember the corner the left has backed itself into. They want to disarm everybody. Their goal is to disarm everybody. But they have carve-outs for mentally ill lefties. They do. In fact, the position of the left is that transgender people should serve at war. I was just talking about people who are deployed to war. The left wants transgender people who have these crazy delusions about which body that they were born into, to be handed actual weapons of war, and serve in combat. They say that has to happen. They're angry that President Trump is stopping that. That's their position on this subject. And so right now, one of the debates that I'm seeing already online is that you have lefties who are arguing that maybe they need to become Second Amendment absolutists to protect the trannies who they want to see armed. Isn't that wild? It's unreal. So suddenly the president of the United States has figured out a way to make the left into Second Amendment purists. What if we ban trannies from getting guns? No. Shall not be infringed. The left starts screeching. I think that, I mean, it's so funny. You know, even everything the Trump administration does, every single time, including the things where you're like, whoa, what are they doing? You know, like whatever the debates are, people debating about whether or not, you know, burning a flag should be entitled to free speech protections, all of that. Every single time the Trump administration steps forward, they do it under the guise of, look, people hate flag burning. Flag burning is disgusting. You're a scumbag if you're burning the American flag, unless you're doing a reverent disposal, the way, say, the Boy Scouts do or local veterans organizations. But if you're burning it out of contempt for our country, you're a scumbag. Everybody agrees on that point. And so the president will put out a policy about this, and it just reminds people of how valuable the Stars and Stripes are to normal Americans who love their country and how vile it is to destroy it. And then the left proves that they're vile by doing the thing that president condemns. He said that shouldn't happen. The left instantly goes out and they burn flags. And then the effect of that is that people are like, well, I know I'm not with the crazy people. I'm with Trump. I'm with defending the Stars and Stripes. That's the effect of this. And so now yet again, when the president steps forward, when his administration steps forward and goes, hey, how can we ban trannies from getting guns? And then the left instantly exposes itself and then instantly starts taking up pro-Second Amendment rights positions. It is, President Trump is one of the great clarifiers of our time. It's just amazing. I know we talk about things like 4D chess. He is outmaneuvering the left like crazy here. So again, I don't think the government should be in the business of picking what they think is a mental health condition to prevent people from exercising their Second Amendment rights. I do think that we should be absolutely prosecuting any doctor who is doing this disgusting stuff where they're chopping up children, chopping up humans, injecting them full of hormones, and not doing anything to advance their health, and working against the Hippocratic Oath, which is do no harm, which of course these lefty doctors are doing harm, supported by lefty medical organizations. That needs to stop. You want to stop mentally ill people from shooting up schools? Help mentally ill people before things get too far. Don't make things worse. That's the answer to this. And in the meantime, do everything you can to support law-abiding citizens being armed and, of course, safe and well-trained to protect themselves and their families. That, by the way, that latter part, that's on us. We have to be safe and well-trained. You have to, take your kids to the range, teach them how to shoot, give them respect, proper respect for a deadly weapon, all of those things. But the answer here is clearly to stop the transgender cult in its tracks. That's the answer here. Not to further make excuses for it of any kind. Stop mental illness, ban all Democrats, says Al John. Thank you, Al John. I think you summarized it nicely. As always, thank you so much for being here with us on the program. That was a great week. That was a great week. It was awesome being with you as always. We'll be back again next week with another exciting series of episodes of Vince. We do have the big national radio show coming up later today. You can check that out first of all, just on your local radio station. Go to thevinceshow.com. We have your local listings all set up there. So any town you are in America, check to see if it's in the local listings at thevinceshow.com. If it's not, you can always join us on Rumble, rumble.com/Vince. We do the live show. We've got a great audience there too, just like we have here on the podcast. Everyone's highly engaged. And, people pick me apart being on camera. They're like, hey, is it time for you to take a bathroom break? How long was that bathroom break? What were you doing? Yeah, great. You can join me for that. That's wonderful. Why do they even have cameras in these radio shows? I don't know. I just agreed to it. At any rate, thank you as always for joining us. It's been awesome. You guys are so good. All right. That's it, right? That's all she wrote? Justin says yes. That's all she wrote. Coming up next, Steven Crowder. Who is it today? Oh, it's Timmy P. We call him Timmy P now? TP? TP's coming up? Tim Pool's coming up right here on Rumble. Stay with us.